Hi everyone, I am Joy and welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for everyone in their 20s who is trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. On today's episode, we have Mr. Wisdom Okonkwo, a podcast host and a cybersecurity professional. He is the host for My Podcast Story, Observe Day, Wisdom Journey, and also Relatable Wisdom. How do you do your introduction?
Oh, my
How do
introduction,
you?
there's the podcast intro and then there's guest intro. For podcast intro, I do that one once and for all. Right? I don't want to be doing it's the same thing, right? You know what I mean by podcast intro is like, oh, welcome to Conversations with Sekani, where we talk about this and we answer questions. It's the same. It doesn't change for the regardless of the episode. So that kind of intro, I spend some time to actually record that, and I just have it as a file. So when I'm editing, I just add it at the beginning. I don't do that. I don't read that every time again and again. Then the other one is the guest intro. The guest intro changes with the guest. And so the guest intro is me copying the guest profile or Podmatch and put it in ChatGPT to create a short episode intro for me. And then I read it. Today on the podcast, we'll be chatting with Joy, and she did this, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Okay, so there's one question I would like to ask you. What actually inspired you to start your podcast?
What inspired me to start a podcast? Let's just say I would have said I love the sound of my voice, but that's not true. I think over time now, I'm getting. It's not like okay. What inspired me to start my podcast? I wanted to create a video, an audio journal, something I could document the things the journey in a specific industry. That was 5 years ago. This year, I decided to start my podcast because I realized that podcasting could be a shortcut to pick the brains of people who have gone ahead without necessarily saying that I wanted to pick their brain. So I get to reach out to people and say, be on my podcast, and I ask them questions that ordinarily I wouldn't have gotten the audience to ask that kind of question, but I do. And they answer me generously because I'm a podcast host.
That's actually really good, and I would say I am glad I got to join this space, and also I'm grateful to be able to ask some certain questions from you with your expertise and experience. I'm so
Expertise
grateful
quoi.
for that.
Okay.
Yes, I would say you're an expert.
You're
So
welcome.
I'm going to say, what's your favorite part about podcasting?
What's my favorite part of about podcast? Definitely not editing. I can tell you I can tell you that without thinking twice. But the favorite part about podcasting, are you talking about the process, the workflow, or like podcasting in general?
Podcasting generally, what's your favorite part of it?
Podcasting. Oh, my favorite part is there's so many parts. I don't know. I don't even know the one to choose. But I'll just give you probably the top two. One of my favorite thing about podcasting, as I said earlier on, is I get free coaching. So I ask people that are like the best of the best in their field. People I probably have to pay $1,000s to talk to them for 1 hour, and I ask them questions, and they respond because I'm a podcast host. That's one. The second thing about podcasting that I really love is that since I've been hosting a podcast, I have become have been forced to be curious. I explain what I mean. There was one time I booked a guest, and for some reason I just realized that the guest I booked, I swapped the guest. So the guest I booked, the details was different from the guest I was interviewing, and I was just looking at the guest, and I had no clue. And so in my mind, I was like, "Tell me about your childhood." And I literally needed to ask questions without knowing anything beforehand. And so that itself is one of the things I am grateful for with podcasting, because most people say that they want to learn to talk, to speak better, but podcasting has taught me how to listen.
So basically, podcasting has made you a curious person. It has taught you curiosity. And that's what we do here in Conversations with Sekani. We ask
Yeah,
curious, we are always so curious, and we ask honest conversations. So I feel like this is what we need. This is what my audience need to know about a whole lot of things. And I'm glad
yeah.
I get to ask you questions. And so I want to ask, how do you measure success in your podcasting? How do you measure
How do I
success
measure
or
success?
growth for your podcast?
Okay. How do I measure success for my podcast? Well, what I do to measure success for my podcast, and this won't be the answer that most persons are expecting, is I at the beginning of the episode I said the reason I started the podcast is because I wanted to use the podcast as a way to chat with people that I admire their work and talk to them. And so, what I consider to be a successful podcast episode is a podcast episode where, at the end of the conversations, and I'm like, wow, this really challenged me. I'm glad I got to have that conversation. Wow, I feel like I know better now, right? Not just an episode where I'm wondering what just happened.
Okay. So basically, you did one of your how you measure success is the fact that you get to talk to people you look up to and ask them
Yeah,
questions. Okay.
yeah. The
So
podcast is I'm the first audience of my podcast. Right. So the question I ask myself, did I like the episode? If it's yes, great episode. If it's no, nah, terrible.
so have there been any challenges so far?
Well, there've been systemic challenges, no electricity. Those challenges, they affect the recording. Sometimes the internet is just terrible. That does affect the recording. And then of course there are time zone differences. Most of my guests they're in Canada, USA, and I would require in order for me to chat with them, I will have to book a time probably around 12 midnight, and my eyes are sleepy, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, very very brilliant point, very brilliant point. Yeah, so those are some
Okay.
of the challenges, but we've been making progress regardless.
Okay. So I was going to ask you how you handle editing and production.
How I handle editing and production. Okay, so what you're asking now is I should go through my workflow, how an episode gets made. Is that what you're asking?
Your
Okay.
microphone, please.
What you're asking is I should explain how an episode gets made.
Yes.
Okay. So first we find the guest, right? And we do that using Podmatch. We message the guest, follow up, and get them to book. And we book using a tool. Like for me, I use Zika. I think you use Calendly. So that was what I used to book for your podcast. So we book the time for the interview, and when it's time, I record with Riverside, which is what we're using right now. And once the recording is concluded, I edit the episode still using Riverside FM, the same software for the recording, and I do the editing with Riverside. And once the video is fully edited, I upload to YouTube and Spotify for creators. And I guess it's not upload. We don't upload directly to. You see, I'm just saying. It's been a while since I touched that process. We don't upload directly to. Okay, I upload to YouTube, I upload to Spotify, but then we upload to Cast Magic to get the transcripts, and from the transcripts, we then get descriptions, chapters, timestamp chapters, and then we'll put that in the episode. And pretty much that's the process of the episode. Once that is done, an episode is published, and that's it, right? Some other persons, they do make clips, but for now that's not what I'm doing. Probably in the future I will do that.
So I'm going to ask this particular question. When you message your guests, do you think it
Okay.
is appropriate to your add the link you used to book while you message your guest for the first time? For example, hi, my name is Joy. I host conversations with Sekani and I'd like to have you on my show. Here is my link for scheduling. Whenever you're less busy, can you click when it's convenient for you? What do you think about that draft? Do you think it's too
Okay.
fast to put in your link or something?
Okay. I think the first message should do one thing. It should get the guest to say yes or no. Any other thing outside of that is asking for too much. Right? So you want the guest to say, no, I don't want to be on your show. Yes, I want to be on your show. And if they say yes, they want to be on your show, then they can get the link and all that.
Okay. All right. So another question I was going to ask is what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone like me who is just starting podcasting?
Okay. Well, one piece of advice I will give to someone who's just starting podcasting, I'd say action creates clarity. And I would be a little bit more specific so the whole advice makes sense as regards to podcasting. When you're starting the podcast process, you're editing an episode, you really don't know, you don't sound that much, you don't even know, you don't feel like you know what you're doing, right? You don't think your way into acting differently. You act your way into that, right? So when you publish the episodes, right, the first couple of episodes is meant for you to just talk, right? And it shouldn't be, oh, I want to be perfect yet. No, by being in the game, right, just keep showing up, and eventually what you realize is that your first couple of episodes, when you listen to them, you're like, oh, that sounded terrible, what was I thinking? And you just, if that happens, you realize that you've grown a lot. And that can only happen when you show up, because sometimes you might say, oh, I didn't really sound well in this episode. Oh, I was just saying things off point on the episode. There'll always be those moments where, like, if the episode is not perfect, I shouldn't publish it, I shouldn't show up. But just remember that action creates clarity. When you're confused, take action.
So, is there a particular way you conclude your podcasting with your guests?
Okay. Once it's getting towards the allocated time for the episode, I allow the guests to get to a natural conclusion. So what I mean by natural conclusion is, if for example I asked you a question, I will allow you to respond to that question completely, and then once you've completely responded to that question, and you are waiting for me to ask you the next question to go to the next step, I would then say, thank you so much, Sekani, Joy, for sharing your story, your lessons and advice, and where can listeners learn more about you and what you do? Right, that's a very key question that allows them to share their links and where people can connect with them. An instance like that, the guest will say, oh, you can go to my website, oh, you can contact me on LinkedIn, oh, and depending on the specific guest. And once they've shared their call to action, I call it call to action, but I don't say share your call to action. Instead, I say where can listeners learn more about you and what you do, and then they share that, and very short and snappy. And then I thank them again, thank them, and I say, oh, I'll put the links in the description, and so that listeners can just click and go directly to the site, and that's it. The episode is done. And once for each of my episodes, I recorded an intro and then I recorded an outro, and the outro doesn't change regardless of the episode. So in the editing process, I will then put the outro, and the outro will be along the lines of, wow, oh, that's it for today's episode. If you loved if you got value from this episode, please leave a review or share this episode with someone who would really get value from it.
Thank you so much for your insights on how to go about podcasting, and I really appreciate this podcast, and I hope that I get to use more of what you said and apply it to my own podcast. Thank you so much for the knowledge. And is there a way we can reach out to you? Like my guests, my listeners can reach out to you and stuff.
Okay. Well, if listeners want to reach out to me on the topic of podcasting, they can go to podnovation.com. That's podnovation.com. That's podnovatation.com. Or they can just reach out to me on LinkedIn at Wisdom Okonkwo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wisdom Okonkwo, for this wonderful insights, and we are glad that we had you here, and I hope we get to do another episode again. Thanks for listening to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparks something for you, share to someone who needs this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes, and let's keep figuring this out together.